Hey guys, it's Hunter. Welcome back to another episode of Ask Fish, and it's been far too long since we've done one of these where I just answer the questions that you guys leave on Discord. I'm not gonna lie, I started off this year so stoked to make moves, to make all this content, build a team, build a proper upload schedule, and life just got to me. Life has been relentless. Anyways, so I know I promised a lot at the beginning of the year, and I've kind of let you guys down. It's been a struggle, things are looking better, and I'm really excited to bring this weekly series back. Link to join our Discord is down below if you've got a question for a future episode. And with that, there is so much to talk about, so smack a like on the video if you're going to enjoy it. That massively helps appease the unabating hunger of the YouTube algorithm. And let's jump into it. Chid asks, thoughts on Tom DeLonge's new signature Starcaster? Dude, yes, let's talk about these. So Tom DeLonge Starcaster is finally out. This has been one of Fender's worst kept secrets of the year, and one of the most anticipated Fenders, at least in the guitar and music circles, echo chambers I'm in. Since Tom rejoined Blink and rejoined Fender and everything came full circle with the classic Blink 182 lineup, he's been playing these custom spec Starcasters. They've been teasing them like the whole lineup with all the launch colors since pretty much the beginning. Pretty much it was part of his Fender reunion announcement. So they finally dropped, and keeping with a similar color theme with the Strat reissue, comes in surf green, in shell pink, in Olympic white, and in shoreline gold. For specs, bound offset semi-hollow body with the maple top and maple back, and a single Seymour Duncan SH5 Duncan Custom with the treble bleed circuit so it retains the high end when turned down, hooked up to a single volume knob that may as well be in its own continent, so it's completely out of the way of even the most uncontrolled punk-style power chord strums, as it should be. Tom made the switch back to Fender from Gibson, and so just like with his previous signature ES335s, it's got a Tune-O-Matic-style bridge and tailpiece, T-O-M, Tom, and a Gibson-esque 12-inch radiused rosewood fingerboard, flatter than the 9.5-inch radius you'd normally find on a Fender. I'm glad they ended up going with generic inlays instead of the Blink logos. Those would have been great for the superfans, so maybe for a future special edition, but this way it's more appealing to more players, even if they're not a fan of Tom's music, or as Fender puts it, his instantly recognizable vocal style. Dark roasted maple neck that's bolt-on, and that's kind of rare for semi-hollows because everyone tends to copy Gibson's set neck ES335 style. Big Fender locking tuners, and one of my favorite features from his Strat, it's got the oversized 70s CBS era Fender headstock. Thank God. And this might be controversial because it seems like everyone loves it now, but the Starcaster is, it's a pretty ugly guitar. Bulbous offset semi-hollow body, it's just not great. And the Klomp headstock, the Dutch wooden shoe, really doesn't help, but I don't know. And this might be my pop punk roots showing a bit too hard, but especially in shell pink and in surf green with the big 70s headstock, it's actually cool and endearingly ugly instead of just plain ugly. Gonna move on before I lose any more friends, but yeah, especially in shell pink, I love it. And overall, what I like about these is they're different to anything else out there. It's not like his Strat, which is a popular and relatively easy parts caster build. And it's funny, suddenly there's all this Starcaster love, but the Starcaster was traditionally never a very popular model. It's why not just Fender, but no one else makes anything like this. Nobody bought Starcasters, so no one really bothered to copy it. The initial production run only lasted from 1976 to 1982. Commercially, they bombed hard, so besides limited editions and a confusingly named budget brand that had nothing to do with the shape whatsoever, that was pretty much it until 2019, when they launched the current Squire Affinity, Classic Vibe, and Contemporary Active versions. Now, the reaction I've seen online, which, remember, YouTube comments are a vocal minority, thank God, because some of you are fucking deranged, but the reaction I've seen online to the Tom DeLonge Starcaster has been split. A lot of people are like me. They love the vibe, they love the simplicity. In fairness, a lot of them are probably Blink fans too. Some people are upset that Fender made a guitar in Indonesia without even a neck pickup, and it's being sold for $12.99. And you know, fair enough, $12.99 is not cheap, and a price tag that high comes with expectations. Interestingly, it's the exact same price as Dave Grohl's Epiphone DG335 from the Inspired by Gibson custom line, another high-end, high-spec import series that has sparked very heated price discussions. And by the way, I'll have links to more details on everything I'm talking about in the description. They are affiliate links, so I get a little kickback if you pick something up. Everything gets reinvested back into the channel, so it's a fun way to help improve the content. Appreciate you if you decide to do that. But so while Squire's known for having well-built models out of Indonesia, and good value given the prices, guitars with Fender on the headstock are generally built in either the US, in Japan, or in Mexico. So The fact that these four-figure Fenders, rolls right off the tongue, are made in Indonesia raised a few eyebrows, and according to an article in Guitar World, all the current production Starcasters, the Squiers, and this new Tom DeLonge Fender are made in the exact same facility. And at that point, the situation raised a lot more eyebrows. So let's dive a little deeper into what's going on. Now, something I've learned from my product design work with Harley Benton is that when it comes to import factories specifically, and applies to guitar building generally, is that it's relatively easy to find a decent solid body factory. It's much more difficult to find good factories for semi-hollows past the entry level. It's a really different skill set, requires different tools, and there are very few factories that actually specialize in high quality semi-hollows. Seems Fender's found one of them, and they've got 5 years, half a decade of experience in building Starcasters now. And it is cool that Fender's not doing that thing where the artist plays a custom shop version and then they sell a cheaper mass-produced model with his name on it. Apparently, outside of the first custom shop prototypes, the Starcasters Tom himself actually plays on tour and in the studio are from the Indonesian facility. The reason being, that's the only place that Fender makes any production semi-hollows. There are no other Fender-branded Starcasters in current production. The last one was the Fender Modern Player Starcaster from 2014, and that was made in China, so they probably don't even have the facilities or personnel to make production-level Starcasters in the US or in Mexico. And speaking of personnel, it seems that 9,429,085,430% of viewing personnel are not subscribed, so make sure to go ahead and hit subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, stay up to date with everything guitar, and it really helps out the channel. We're trying to hit 200,000 subscribers. That's just a crazy number. Thank you so much to all of you who have done that. Now, even though the $300 Squier Affinity Starcaster is made in the same place as this $1,300 Fender Tom DeLonge signature, the specs are obviously very different. The Affinity has a neck pickup. No, I mean, so the Affinity doesn't even have real binding. It's painted on. The Affinity and the DeLonge are clearly not instruments that are at the same tier. And you do have different trim, different quality level guitars made in the same facility and sold at different price points all the time. The concern is really, I mean, can this factory that produces entry-level price guitars also be trusted to make a high-quality guitar that justifies a $12.99 price tag? It's a valid question. In fairness, objectively, the DeLonge one is much higher specs than any of the other current production Starcasters, and I'd even argue the headstock shape is one of the major upgrades over the classic Starcaster. Apparently as well, Fender even sent a team to the factory dedicated specifically on improving the quality of these models through intensive specialized training. So I definitely understand the skepticism. Trust me, I was there too. That's why I did research, asked around. Seems Fender is putting a lot of behind-the-scenes effort into getting this one right, and everyone I've asked that's actually played one in the wild has been impressed. They've compared it to like a well-built made in Mexico Fender. No one I've talked to has said that it feels like a cheap Squier. And in fact, most of them weren't aware that this was made in the same facility as those Squier Starcasters. Personally, I judge things on results. If a team has developed the skills and expertise to craft a guitar that's well built, well spec'd, plays and feels like a good guitar, has mojo, sparks joy, whatever, do they not deserve the reward for that level of craftsmanship, for the results of those honed skills and expertise? Obviously, if you've got a guitar with a high price tag because it has premium specs and an artist name on it, but plays like shit, that's a completely different story. That's when there's a problem. And there is that prestige of having the name Fender on the headstock, but this shows they could have literally done the exact same instrument, same specs, same facility, just put Squier on it instead of Fender and launched it at a lower price point. There's of course a counterpoint to everything, this one being that the Fender name on the headstock generally holds value much better than Squier if buyers want to sell later. But either way, I think it's exciting. If this factory can do guitars at that quality level, it means that things like proper reissues of the Coronado and Coronado 2, for example, other short-lived ugly Fenders with cult followings of their own, could very well be on the table. And this price discussion kind of mirrors the one around Epiphones inspired by Gibson Custom Line. Epiphone, or rather Gibson owns the Epiphone factory in Qingdao, so that's pretty much where all the imports are made, from the mega entry-level Les Paul SL to the Adam Jones 1979 Les Paul Custom, spec to the brim including American electronics, and a price tag approaching Gibson levels that would have been unthinkable for an Epiphone pre-global once-in-a-generation health event. Can we say the actual name yet, or we still get demonetized? I don't know. Either way, it's interesting how much emphasis Fender and Gibson, the two biggest guitar companies, are placing on premium level imports this year. Anyways, this is getting into a completely different conversation, so let's refocus. Pricing discussion aside, as a concept, I think Tom DeLonge's Starcaster line is very sick. The story too, the Blink and Fender reunion, this ugly duckling of a model that wasn't even well received when it was launched, but has now been modernized and given new life as a line of rock machines in Easter egg colors. I love them. Honestly, how could you not? These just look like super fun guitars, and Fender doesn't make anything else like them. In this, the year of the semi-hollow, Dave Grohl's Epiphone DG335, Wolfgang Van Halen's EVH SA126, even Slash has a new Murphy Lab Collector's Edition ES335, his first ever semi-hollow signature. Out of all of them, I mean, I'm pretty biased because Blink was a big inspiration for getting me into guitar. Songs like All the Small Things or What's My Age Again were easy to learn, and being able to play songs I was really into at the time was very motivating. I was hitting a brick wall with exercises, so learning those songs, that feeling of making progress was addicting. It kept me going, made me want to get better, learn more. So yeah, if it wasn't clear, full disclosure, I'm emotionally invested in this. The Epi, the EVH, they're both very cool, but single pickup and shell pink, I think the Starcaster has to be my favorite out of all of them. I'm like 85% confident. It's close. The SA126 in purple quill is f***ing sick too. From a content perspective, I'm trying to figure out a way to get the Starcaster and the DG335. I think it would be really interesting to compare rock-focused versions of Fender and Gibson semi-hollows, and also see how each of their most anticipated premium-level imports, or even models in general, of the year stack up. $1299 is quite a price tag to justify, so are they both at that level? Only one? Neither? Inquiring minds need to know. But yeah, those are just my thoughts. Here's where I'll throw it to you. Do you like Tom DeLonge's Starcaster line? You think it's endearingly ugly? You like the specs? You hate the specs? You just want to whinge about how a musician who's inspired countless new players to pick up the guitar through only power chords doesn't deserve a signature because he's a quote-unquote mediocre player? Any and all thoughts? Let's hear them down below. Shotgun 3007 asks, thoughts on the new Jackson guitars, 27 frets, King Kelly, etc. Yep, so I've actually got a whole video on the new Jackson lineup, or at least most of it, because Jackson's on a tear and they're dropping so many new models. They're also adding a ton of new artists to the lineup, especially in the modern metal space. Sleep Token, Spirit Box, Bring Me the Horizon, absolutely insane. They've gone from seemingly one of the most complacent mainstream guitar brands to one of the most ambitious. That other video covers those 27 fret models and the King Kelly from the new concept series, essentially import versions of formerly US custom shop exclusive models. It also covers the Pro Plus series that has stainless steel frets, lumen lays, compound radius ebony fingerboards as standard features across the entire import line. All those modern specs combined with classic Jackson shapes. It's really cool, and just so much more. It's a 22-minute epic. It breaks down Jackson's entire early year lineup, so I'll leave a link in the description to that video that you can check out. I really appreciate the retention rate here, so the algorithm looks favorably on this video, but after you finish this one, definitely check that out because there is so much to talk about with Jackson recently. So much, in fact, that something that I did not get to cover in that video because it dropped something like the day or the day after that I uploaded, is that they've also dropped the newest and, in my opinion, best spec edition to the American Series line. You may be aware, but for context, Jackson still had their US custom shop, but production model Jacksons were only made abroad for a long time. In 2022, though, they brought back production models to the US with the American Series Soloist SL3, built in Corona, California. Neck through, the big-ass frets that Jackson likes to use, mother pearl shark fin inlays. From there, they added the Virtuoso with the bolt-on roasted maple neck. I'll be totally honest, I was never really a Jackson fan. Floyds are a pain in the ass. So on paper, the Virtuoso, not my type of guitar, and I got so many offers to sell after that video. Couldn't do it. There's something about it. I should hate it, but I love it. It's special. These are really, really good guitars, and they've just dropped the third and arguably best entry in the American Series thus far. The creatively named Soloist SL2MG, the 2 meaning dual humbucker, and the MG, I guess referring to the fact that the humbuckers are EMGs. Hell yeah, so obviously these things are chug machines. There are 2 variants. It comes in satin black, matte army drab, and satin Lambo orange for the Floyd 1500 equipped version, which is the Korean-made Floyd Rose, but with upgraded stainless steel moving parts. And even better, there's also a hipshot hardtail version in the same colors minus the Lambo. Same general Jackson specs as the SL3, alder body, 3-piece neck through with graphite reinforcement, go to locking tuners, compound radius 12 to 16-inch ebony fingerboard with rolled edges, mother of pearl inverse shark fin inlays, spoke wheel truss rod adjustment, lumen lays, and this time, finally, big ass Jackson Jumbo stainless steel frets. And every time there are questions, why is this a big deal? Essentially, when they're done right, when they're well polished, it's like playing on glass. There's like no friction whatsoever. It's awesome. And because the material is so hard, they stay that way forever. You never have to do a refret. The frets will last longer than the guitar will. And it used to be pretty much unattainable, like a super high-end custom shop feature, super expensive because the harder material just ate through tools. It took more time. And nowadays, this former custom shop only spec is becoming more and more standard on modern metal guitars. Love to see it. And there's non-Floyd high-end American production Jacksons too. Sick. So yeah, these are almost like the higher end counterparts to the Import Pro Plus series, right? Like they haven't made something completely unrecognizable as the Jackson to try and chase trends. These are very much Jackson-ass Jacksons and with updated specs that a lot of players want from a new modern metal focused guitar. Maybe it has something to do with the feedback from all the modern metal artists Jackson has been adding to the roster recently. But yeah, it's such a crazy transformation. All of a sudden, Jackson have gone from one of the most predictable guitar brands to one of the most interesting to follow. And the next generation of heavy music players and heavy music fans are seeing a lot of Jackson. I just went to the Sleep Token show here in Atlanta. Now, Atlanta's the birthplace of trap music, and if you're into trap, the scene is incredible. But in recent years, Atlanta has generally not been considered a rock or metal stronghold. In fact, a lot of the bands that I wanted to see just straight up skipped us. But holy, that show sold out the Coca-Cola Roxy the day tickets went up. The place was completely packed. The audience was like 90% under 35, a ton of high school kids, and I want to say like 30-40% of the audience were girls. A very different composition to what you'd see at a Slayer show, and everyone was into it. Collectively, we couldn't clap in time for shit. But the crowd was singing all the lyrics back to the band, rocking the hell out of the breakdowns, and the entire thing was a fucking sensory spectacle. Legitimately, one of the best shows I've ever been to. It's a common narrative that rock and metal's dead, it's not coming back. Nah, man. Not from what I saw. I have not seen an Atlanta crowd of that size so into a band that plays heavy music in a long time. And if you say Sleep Token aren't heavy, okay, maybe not in the way that Slaughter to Prevail or Slipknot are, but Two's Jacksons are a 30-inch baritone with Lundgrens and an 8-string with Fluence Moderns, both Evertune loaded. Hit me up, I will give you listening recommendations to change your minds. Anyways, all that to say is, just like with what Gibson did with Page and Zeppelin, or Slash and Guns N' Roses, or ESP did with James and Kirk and Metallica, or Will Adler and Lamb of God, Jackson's becoming a key part of the culture for this next generation. It's a solid long-term play, and another example of Jackson's seemingly newfound long-term ambition. Love to see it. Anyways, that's enough Jackson ramble, so I'll throw it to you. What do you think of the new modern spec Jackson American Series Soloist SL2? What are you thinking about the new look Jackson guitars overall, whether it's the new models or the artists they're bringing on board? Any and all thoughts? I'd love to see them down below. And now it's time to hear from yet another adoring fan. It's the high praise of the week. I've tried, dude, but I hate your channel. Sorry. You know what? You could have just left without saying anything, and literally no one would have noticed. You just had to say something. It is rare, though, that I politely get told to fuck myself, and manners are mostly lost in the comments. You did say sorry, so you have to respect it. Since the last episode of Ask Fish, there's been a lot of videos. So, in case you missed it, you need some more guitar in your life, here's some highlights. Since the last episode, finally was able to spend some quality time with the Strandberg, did a full demo of their newest guitar, the Bowden Essential. Covered for the world of Les Pauls, which is like the exact polar opposite of Strandberg. I'd always been curious, especially about the Twisted Rhombus neck. Strandbergs just tend to be very expensive, and a couple grand is a lot to satisfy curiosity, and the Essential is their attempt to woo new players like myself that think Strandberg's like fucking weird with a more reasonably priced gateway drug model. Then took a closer look at ESP's best kept secret, a GLP from their generally Japan exclusive brand Grassroots. Traditional Les Paul shape, so no weird chode horn or anything like that. It's even got the open book headstock, outrageous pink flame top, which looks really cool with the Tuxedo Les Paul custom theme. I picked it up for about $300 including shipping. Solid fretwork, it has one of the nicest ebony boards I've ever seen on a budget guitar. There had to be a catch, but I don't think it was what people were expecting. Then another piece of gear I've been dying to try for a long time, EVH 5153, and I went with the 100-watt Stealth because it's the biggest, meanest looking one. And good God, I love gain, and this had everything I hoped for and more. Well-deserved legendary status, ridiculously good tone, but also a few interesting intricacies that I hadn't prepared for. And then PRS has a new SE, and while guitar prices everywhere seem to climb higher by the week, PRS has gone and done the opposite. CE24 standard satin, absolute workhorse, same factory, same quality level as their highest end SEs, $499, significantly less than the next most affordable SE. It's even got a proper rosewood fingerboard when everyone else is switching to alternatives like Laurel Rosacer. Needed to figure out how on earth they accomplished that, so had to check it out. And it kind of blew my mind. Links to all those will be in the cards and in the description. Go check them out. Huge thanks to my amazing supporters on Patreon who make each and every video possible. Their names are up on the screen right now. You can become a patron as well to add your name and get bonus extras. You can also join as a channel member or pick up some comfy ass merch. Every bit helps grow the channel. Social media, Discord server, and links to all the gear we covered are in the description. As always, thanks so much for watching. You've been awesome, and I will see you for the next video.